Hello, I'm Georgie Holland. I am a Miss Universe Great Britain finalist, and I'm here for the interview with the pageant project.
Hello, everyone. It's Adrian from the Pageant Project with you. I suspect there may not be a lot of people awake just yet. As my special guest for this morning is Georgie Holland, who is a Miss Universe GB finalist. And it's 6 a.m. for Georgie. Georgie, do you want to explain what you're doing up at the crack of dawn?
Yes, hello everyone. I do a lot of yoga in the morning, so I get up really early just to stretch, just to wake up the body, grab a coffee, and I thought, let's do this early. So I'm ready and prepped.
I do exactly the same thing, only I don't do the yoga and I just double down on the coffee. Have you, so just to clarify, have you done yoga already?
Yes, yeah. So I got up extra early. So 5 o'clock I did yoga.
I'm going to assume you're a morning person. If
I
you were a
am,
night owl, this would be like hell for you. So you're a morning person.
I am absolutely. And my partner, he is definitely not. So he hates me in the morning. I'm up making noise.
Are you waking him up now by being on this interview?
I'll let you know. If an angry man walks through the door, yes.
Okay. Hopefully he's understanding. Hopefully you're not doing this at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. every morning. But why don't we start with the easy question, which is how you got into the crazy world of pageantry to begin with. I don't know if Miss Universe GB is your first pageant, it's your 10th pageant. How'd you get into this world?
Okay, so I have done pageants previously prior to Miss Universe GB. I started at a really young age. So, long story short, I had a stroke when I was 17 and I started raising money for charities, different charities. And there was a specific charity called Headway that I worked with in the UK. And they were connected to a pageant. So I just sort of fell into it almost. And then my health got a little bit worse. So I stopped doing pageants for, gosh, about 8 years.
Mhm.
And now I'm back. It's obviously Miss Universe. 28 is the age, unless they decide to up the limit. So I thought it's now or never. Let's do it. So
I
I'm
just
back.
want to back. I just want to back up to when you said that you had a stroke. So I know that in the bio that you sent me, I've had written it down as a note for myself. So at the age of 17, you experienced a stroke that left you half blind. Now, I don't know how it is really in Great Britain, but at the age of 17, and I've worked at a school, an all girls school. At the age of 17, most of them are just on social media all the time, talking about boys and complaining that their parents haven't gotten them the latest iPhone. You had a stroke, which is a life altering, life threatening condition for anyone. Um, can you tell the audience listening a bit more in terms of what it was like, not to relive it, but just so that some people who might have the warning signs, I'm sure that you've educated yourself now that you've gone through it yourself. Maybe what did it feel like at the time, and were there any warning signs that you perhaps could have known at the time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, there are specific warning signs. So they say it's the fast. So F for face, A for arms. So you start to get tingling in the arms. The face can droop. Speech. So your speech can be quite slurred. So at that time, I'm going to be honest. To be honest with you, it's when I was in school is when it happened. So I was in the middle of a dance lesson.
Mm.
I completely blacked out. I couldn't see a thing. Um, and it was very similar to almost having a migraine. Don't panic if you have a migraine, but it's that you get like a very sharp headache. It's like being a 3-year-old again. So you completely black out. Um, and yeah, so I got picked up from school. I actually was at home for 2 days whilst having the stroke because I just thought it was another migraine. But
Wow.
unfortunately, I didn't catch it in time, which is why the blindness and why I walk into cupboards a lot. But yeah, so it's very, how do I, yeah, it's like being a 3-year-old again, and you're not really sure of your surroundings. But I'm here now. I'm happy, and it's given me such a positive outlook on life. I
Sure.
live every day like it's my last, as cliche as it sounds, but you have a wake up call. And although it's a bad thing to go through in a bad situation,
Mm.
it's been such a positive part of my life. um, I am left partially blind. I'm not allowed to drive unless my eyesight suddenly clears up, but that's a very small part of what could have happened. So for me, it's been a huge wake up call. And it's made me sort of appreciate life a lot more and say yes to everything, which is again why I'm doing Miss Universe. I mean, 10 years ago, I would have never, never stepped foot on the stage. But now I just think, you've got to live every day.
I know you mentioned that you were a dancer. I know one of the other things that you put in your bio was that you toured with the X Factor for 4 years as a professional dancer. Now, not to stereotype, but generally dancers are in shape. So, when you had a stroke, so I'm going to assume most people might think, I think sometimes they get strokes confused with heart attacks. And
Yeah,
heart attacks obviously is a cardiac event, but stroke's actually in the brain, if I'm correct.
yeah.
And so, obviously, in your case, at your age, it's certainly not a common condition or an expected condition. So, I'm going to assume that it took you completely by surprise by the sounds of it.
Absolutely. I think at the time I was so out of it for about a month and a half. I didn't really understand what was going on. But when I look back now, I didn't drink, didn't smoke. I still don't. But at those points, I was healthy. I was fit. I was
Of
still
course.
working out. As you mentioned, I was on tour. So it was definitely, yeah, definitely a shock, especially to my parents. They were so
Mm.
overwhelmed with the situation because you just don't expect it from a young age. But actually, since sharing my story and speaking out about it, the amount of people that have reached out that are under sort of the age of 40 is more surprising than I thought it would be. So yeah, definitely a wake up call.
Have you, I mean, obviously, when it happened to you, you were incredibly young. And as you said, it sort of gave you a zest for life, so to speak. You never take anything for granted when you have I guess, a life threatening event happen at the age of 17. But the
Yeah.
people that have reached out to you, you said they're a lot under the age of 40. Is it something that after it happens, it makes it difficult to move forwards with a quality of life? Because I imagine it affects everyone differently depending on where it happens, the severity of it. So different people could have had the same, a stroke,
Yeah.
but it impacts their lives to differing extents.
Absolutely. So there are different types of strokes. You can have a bleed on the brain. You can have a blood clot. Mine was a clot. So where the brain is, those brain cells have died. So where the clot
Hmm.
was. So I will have times where I sort of stop. I have to really think. And a lot of the time, you feel like you have to work a lot harder than the average person.
Yeah,
But you build up a strength that you don't think is inside you, and you just have to carry on, because if not, you'll stop, you'll feel sorry for yourself, and then it will
mm,
just be a downhill spiral. So for me, I think the hardest thing was something as simple those years ago. It was making a drink, trying to have the stability to think, right, okay, I need to put the glass down, the squash inside or cordial, and then the water. Like something as simple as that, walking down the stairs was
mm,
such a major task at that time. And as you said, as a dancer, that was
yeah.
so scary to me. And it did change my career course, from a dancer to what I do now. So I'm much better now. I can dance again. So I'm back taking classes. But it's amazing what your brain can remember and do. Um, and I think you just have to be patient, because that's the hardest thing. It's not knowing when it's going to be okay again. And for some people it's not, but it's what
Yeah.
you can take out of life, and it's those positive sides that you go, okay, well, it could have been worse. I could not be here today. So I think, yeah, you have
Absolutely.
to take everything very lightly.
Just in general, you talk about having to be patient and obviously learning to walk again or learning to walk down the steps for someone obviously who's coordinated because you were a dancer. That's got to be a very frustrating or long term, very difficult journey. Roughly, how long did it take you doing that sort of? I don't know if rehab is the right word, but roughly how long did it take before you returned to some semblance of, for want of a better word, normality?
Yeah, I think it's very different for everyone. For me, I've always been quite determined. So even whilst I was in hospital, I was like, right, get me out of bed. I need to walk. I need to try and get back on my feet again. So I did have quite a quick recovery. So for me, it was
Hmm.
about 6 weeks before I was fully back to walking again, and
Right.
I was trying to get back to work after sort of 2 weeks. I was working at Burger King at the time, so it was great. So I was like, I need to get back to work. But for me, yeah, it was luckily a quick process. So it was about a month really in total before I was
Mm.
fully fit to get back on my feet again. But it's different for everyone. And I think, yeah, you just have to be patient.
And you said that it left you half blind. So does that mean in one eye that you can't see? You said you walk into cupboards, which look, I know a lot of people who are perfectly sighted who still walk into cupboards. It's for some people it's not a sight thing. And then I know some people who can drive who shouldn't be allowed to drive. But what did it take the sight in one of your eyes or both of your eyes?
Yeah, so how it works, so I had what's called a left infrarupt fracture, which affects everything on the right hand side. So it's half of my, how I explain it, it's half of my eye on on both sides. So if you go like this, it's the right hand side in both eyes.
Right. Wow, the brain is such a
Is honestly, I've learned so much working alongside all the neurosurgeons and delving deeper into women's health. I think, yeah, I've learned an incredible amount.
Well, I mean, even the fact that your brain can recover to the point where you can learn to walk down the steps again. I think a few years ago, I was watching a documentary on neuroplasticity. I don't know how much you know about that topic, but this whole idea that the brain can basically rewire itself no matter how badly it's been damaged. And it's absolutely fascinating. Sounds like you're a case in point. Although I guess it does help that it happened to you when you were younger. Um, but in terms of the dancing, we talked about the dancing. Are you back to dancing in in any sort of like ongoing capacity, or is it just a hobby for yourself now?
It is just a hobby, yes. However, the agency that I did work with, ProExcel, they have reached back out to me recently. So I think I will be going back on tour with them, but not as a dancer this time, but actually as a teacher and a a tutor to young girls. So yeah, so I'm back doing it, but not at the capacity I was doing it before.
You mentioned that you wanted to go back to work after 2 weeks, which slightly ironic given that it was Burger King. I don't want to dismiss anyone who's working at Burger King, but
Well,
it's not. It's hardly life or death. Although I don't think we have Burger King here. We have Hungry Jack's.
I
It's one
really
of those. Yeah, it's one of those things. Like it's a trademark thing anyway. But I've often remarked that dancers, because the girls' school that I was working at, they obviously had dancers and gymnasts, and I was always somewhat envious of the dancers because they would work so hard. So would the gymnast, training 5, 6 days a week, 2 or 3 hours, giving up a Saturday, and this is at the age of 13, 14, 15. And I was coaching tennis, and I could barely get a tennis player to come in twice a week. And if they came in twice a week, they'd be complaining. Did that sort of hard work and go get 'em attitude stem from your dancing, or did you always have that and it sort of was a useful trait to have in dancing?
Ooh, I yeah, I think it's been instilled in me from a young age. I come from a very strong-willed family. So my
Mhm.
mum's a police officer. Well, she works on the radio call center for the police. So she's very strong and determined, and she's been with them for years. and my dad he does martial arts. So
Cool.
I've come from a very sort of solid, strong background that have, I think, instilled it in me, definitely. So I think it's always been there, and I think it definitely helped.
What sort of martial art does your dad do, just out of interest?
Yes, so we actually did karate together. We're black belts. So's my little brother.
Oh,
But
wow.
now he trains in Wing Chun. So he went to China for 2 months, and he trained out there with Ip Man's nephew. Don't quote me, but it's amazing. Yeah, some of the stuff, he scares me. I think that's why I didn't have a boyfriend for so long, or that's why I say anyway. They're all scared.
They're scared of your dad. He's not going to shoot them. He's just going to beat them to. That's so funny you mentioned that, because I've just been going on a bit of an Ip Man tear, like a phase. So I was watching, like rewatching some of the fight scenes just today.
Yeah,
Donnie
really.
Yen is a ridiculous. You see the way that how quick they are. I'm sure as a dancer you would appreciate the choreography, because obviously martial arts in an action movie is not how it goes in the real world. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah,
But the way, the speed at which these guys move, and
yeah,
in Chinese, I mean, he went to China, but in Hong Kong cinematography and Chinese, they don't have like action stunt doubles. It's the real person with real blunted knives, to be sure. But was your dad ever was he inspired, do you know, by watching the movies? Because that makes me want to go and do martial arts. But I don't know, maybe your dad did martial arts properly, and but then he saw the movies.
yeah. No, it was so my brother got a flyer to his school of a karate class, and it sort of went from there. And we just kept going
Right.
to karate lessons. But my dad, fun fact, so because I'm quite tall, I was young at the time, and I couldn't fight with the other kids because I was too tall to fight with them. So I'd have to train with the adults. And
Okay.
so I would train with my dad, and I'd have these big pads that you'd hit.
Hmm.
And one day we were told to hit with full force.
Uh-huh.
And when I tell you, I was winded for about a week. So I got hit and I flew. So I've been beat up by my dad, but that was the headline.
That's I had a similar experience, although I was on the giving end, not the receiving end. We had the, the big, it might be the same, like it's almost kick shields, the
Yeah,
really, really big ones that you have to hold up on your forearms like this.
yeah,
And the sensei kept saying, no, kick as hard as you can. And I'm strong in the legs. That's where, not the upper body, but in the legs. And I was training with another friend who probably weighed about 100 kilos. And I kicked him, and he went flying through the air like a good 3 or 4 feet, and he said, "Oh, now I know what it's like to be kicked by a horse." So
yeah,
what's the scariest thing that your dad can do? Like, is there any
that.
specific skill that he can do, or
It was that.
that the
No,
fact that he beat up his daughter?
yeah. No, what can he do? He can do all sorts. Nunchucks, the big sticks. He can punch so
Wow.
fast as well. But yeah, it's very impressive, I must admit.
See, I'm the other way around. I want to meet your dad now because that just sounds so cool. Um, that okay. So I didn't know that you were a black belt. Um, that's something else. The thing that I really wanted to talk to you about, apart from the unexpected Wing Chun, the food critic. Now, life as a food critic. I've never interviewed a food critic before. To me, it seems like you get paid to go around eating for free. So I don't like to make assumptions about anything. That's why I started interviewing pageant girls, and here I am 6 or 7 years later. Um, Food critic. What is the life of a food critic?
You hit the nail on the head. I eat for a living. Yeah, so I
Every pageant girl right now watching this is supremely jealous of you. Let me just say that.
yeah, so I how do I even start this? So okay, so it actually started during lockdown when we weren't allowed to go out and eat. So I
Yeah.
would be at home and I would start cooking. And before this point, I couldn't even cook rice, like the packet rice in a microwave. I'd nearly blew up the microwave once. So I couldn't do that. And then I thought, right, now is the time to learn. It's lockdown. I'm indoors. There's nothing really too much to do. Let's educate the brain somehow. So I started learning to cook and I was posting the videos online and it got quite a bit of attention. So I thought, okay, let me keep going with this. And lockdown ended. We were allowed back out again into the world. And I started going to restaurants and I just started reviewing, writing blogs about it,
Hmm.
and just posting. And I just kept posting and posting. And then I started getting a lot of attention around it. And yeah, it stemmed from there. And I now get paid and fed. So it's great. So if I ever need a date night, I'll look at where to go, what's the best options, what can we look at, and then we'll go for a date night.
So just the mechanics of it. So you get paid, or you don't have to pay for the food. Is that correct?
So both. Yeah. So dependent on the size of the place. So some places are just sort of generic free food,
Yeah.
complimentary food. And then others it will be paid. And I have an agency that reached out that are sponsoring that as well. So I eat for a living. I do have other
Y-
jobs as well, but that's yeah, that's
We
that's
don't care about the other jobs. All we
no.
care about is a food critic. No, I'm joking. But so when you go in, or you make a booking, do you have to disclose to the restaurant that you are a food critic?
Not necessarily. It depends on the booking. If I've been invited by the restaurant, then it's more of a sort of overall review rather than a
Okay.
critique. But if it's through the agency, then it's a brutal review.
Okay. And then next question, because I've been struggling with this dilemma. If
Yes.
the restaurant is giving you the food for free and it's terrible, do you ever have any sort of inner struggles as to you giving me this food for free, but it's really bad and I have to say so?
Do you know what? At first, yes, I was really struggling with that because I don't really have too many bad bones in my body. So I really struggle to be mean to people or I
Yeah.
feel overwhelmed when it happens. So for me when I was going through that process, it was really a struggle. But then you get to a stage where, okay, I'm going to be very open when I'm there and say,
Mm.
actually, I'm not really feeling this. The service wasn't great. I think you could do this better. And since that point, they've all been really open to change, not changing, but just to developing and seeing new opportunities within the restaurant. And most of the time, they're really grateful. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's it's got its
Well, I mean, it would be a challenge because I mean, you don't. I mean, it's not even about being mean. It's just sort of the honesty. But then I guess on the flip side, if you're providing a service to people who are going to go there in the future or might go there in the future, you owe it to them to be
absolutely.
honest. It's just difficult, I guess, when someone's giving you the food and you have to say, this I don't want food poisoning, so I'm going to pass on this. I don't know, were you a big fan of like food TV? I mean, they call it food porn, or the Gordon Ramsay and the Jamie Oliver and all that stuff. Did you watch that stuff before you got into this industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So every time I was poorly, I would literally sit there and watch for hours for food. And the worst thing is my mum's going to kill me, but she's not really good at cooking. So I had to sorry if you're watching this, mum, I love you. So I bought her some seasoning and we've discussed it further and now she's good. But I I had to take matters into my own hands.
Is that one of those things where you try and do it subtly? Like when someone smells bad, you get them perfume for a Christmas present, and then like for your mum who doesn't cook that well, you subtly salt and pepper shakers. Oh, these are lovely salt and pepper shakers. Yes, you should use them.
Yeah, yeah.
that sounds like that sounds like what's happening. Which who's your favorite chef on TV to watch?
Oh, who's my favorite chef? I think it has to be Gordon Ramsay. Kitchen
Okay,
Nightmare.
good.
Yeah, you have to love a bit of Kitchen Nightmares.
Because I don't know if you saw the first ever episode of when he did that and he went to this pub. I don't know where it was. and the chef, thought he had pretensions of fine dining, and he gave Gordon an oyster that had gone rancid, and nearly poisoned him. Like he eats it, and then he has to run out to throw up. So, have you had any experiences like that?
Thank goodness, no.
Not yet.
No. Yeah, not yet. No, no, I don't want to. No. Do you know what? I do a little bit of research before. Um, and if I, yeah, no, I do a little bit of research before if it looks
Right.
absolutely terrible. No. But yeah, no, thank goodness I've not had that yet.
I want to ask you, I mean, food is one thing, and obviously whether you like the food or not, that's one part of it. But when you go into a restaurant, how important is the service part of it? Because I have this ongoing thing with restaurants. It's like the food can be good, but it's a service that makes it an event, or it's the bad service that can completely ruin it. And very often, whenever I see someone who's really good at service, it's like it's a gift that they have. I don't know that you can teach someone to be like the maitre d', like a really, really good one, and they just make you feel like you're coming back to your second home. And if they've seen you before, they remember your name and they remember what you had last time, and you sat there going, "How on earth did you remember all this? Like, do you have my details somewhere?" Then on the other hand, you go to somewhere like a McDonald's or a Burger King, and you go there to order and they make it seem like you're really inconveniencing them. So what are your thoughts on service and how important good service is to the dining experience? I'd be fascinated to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, if you ever came to my Burger King, you'd have top tier service, so don't worry. I believe service is everything. So you can cook the most amazing meal, but if the service is terrible, if the food's been really delayed and they've not told you or at least a reason why, then yeah, no, really poor marks. Because I think it's I think it's a disservice to the chef as well, who's
Mm.
catered for you and spent time cooking to then have the bad service on the front end. So yeah, no, I think it's massive.
And what's the best meal you've ever had?
Oh, good question. So there's okay, so that is easy to answer for me. So there's a
Okay.
restaurant called Temper in Soho in London, and the experience, the food, it was phenomenal. So I go back there at least twice a year, and it's a very special occasion usually. You can get dressed up a little bit, but not too fancy, where you
Hmm.
get really small plates. I'm a foodie. I like to eat. So if I get a small plate, I get a bit sad. Um, so so yeah, temper, they give you enough. You get
Okay.
it's just incredible. If you're ever in London, temper.
Isn't Soho the bougie spot? Isn't that the right word? It's very upmarket, isn't it?
Yeah, they do have a mixture of restaurants there. It's yeah, this is in between sort of the fine dining and the restaurants. But yeah, no, temper. You won't regret
Okay.
it.
Oh, I'll have to give it a go because last time, one of the I've been to the UK quite a lot, and one of the times I was over there, I was really struggling to find any good food. Mind you, it wasn't in London; it was in Cardiff. No, it wasn't even in Cardiff; it was in Swansea, and some of my good friends are from Swansea, so I don't want to shellac it in public. But let's just say, the food quality was variable, to put it kindly. Has obviously you started during the pandemic where restaurants were probably one of the hardest hit outside of the travel industry because literally you weren't allowed to go to a restaurant, at least over here in Australia, and I imagine in the UK as well. Some of them adapted by offering delivery and things like that, but it still obviously really impacted that industry terribly. From your experience, has the industry sort of recovered now, sort of a year or two later?
Yes, no, I think it's still in the recovery stages,
Mm,
but I don't think that's due to the restaurants. I think that's just due to the current climate and what's going on in terms of
right.
financially. Um, because yeah, I think people are struggling a little bit. The cost of living's increasing.
Yeah.
Um, So it is more of an occasion, I believe, for people to go out and eat. But I think street food's doing quite well still, because if
Mm,
you're at work and at lunchtime and you want to go grab some food, then street food's quite popular for that, and it's usually reasonably priced. But I think
yeah.
that's why it's also important for me to share the experiences, share the prices, give them sort of a head start in terms of where to eat and things like that. So yeah, I think it's still got some recovery, definitely.
Yeah, I think fine dining restaurants over here have been struggling, even probably before the pandemic. But now with the pandemic, at least over here in Australia, they're closing left, right, and center because people just don't want to, or people can't afford to pay that much
Mm.
for the food. Um, I'm assuming that your friends know that you're a food critic. This is not a secret life. So, just out of interest, if you ever go to someone else's house and they cook for you, is that ever an awkward occasion?
Never thought about it like that. I think
It'd be like, I don't want to invite Gordon Ramsay over to my place and cook. I don't want to deal with that pressure. I mean, you're actually a food critic. So when you go to their place, are they like putting out the fine silverware and the nice china, or are they just giving you like a burger and going, "Oh, whatever"?
to be honest with you, my friends don't really cook. A lot of the time I'll go around theirs and cook, so I end up doing a lot of the cooking when I go over. It's not really, yeah, there's no sort of come dine with me or anything like that. So maybe I should, yeah, I need to get them to cook actually, now I think about it. But most of the time they'll say, let's go for food, because they know I can get it out.
Right. You go to other places, people's places, and you cook. That's
Yeah.
that's a very unusual service that you offer.
I love to cook. If I'm not cooking, there's an issue. There's something wrong with me. I love being in the kitchen. If I could be in the kitchen all the time, I would. If anyone comes in the kitchen and tries to cook, like if my partner tries to come into the kitchen and cook, it's curtains. He'll have an angry Georgie all night.
So you said you discovered this love during the pandemic, right? Because you said during like before the pandemic you couldn't even cook, which I don't cook.
Nice.
I don't think consider packet rice to be cooking, but as an Asian, packet rice is. I mean, I have it all the time for convenience, but I wouldn't call it cooking. It's on the same level as toast. But you went from not being able, well, from blowing up your microwave to now you're a foodie. Like this is interesting because I find a lot of people, they have one love throughout their life and they just keep banging on that, and more power to them. But then there are other people who continually seem to discover new passions in their life, and I think that's very interesting because it shows growth, it shows curiosity, and all those sorts of things, which are all good for your brain. Actually, like to keep your brain young. So how did it progress? You went from blowing up microwaves to going to other people's places to cook. I'm assuming you're not blowing up their microwaves.
No, lucky for them. So
I'm sorry, the question is too personal.
it's fine. It's fine. I just have such a passion for it. If I get any opportunity to cook, I will cook. New pots and pans for me is what gets
Mhm.
me going. If I go shopping, it'll be like, oh, what pan can I get today? What lovely sharp knife can I buy? It's not great. I've
Do
gone
you
from one extreme to the other.
do you have any favorite brands of pans and knives? They can be pretty, like, I know this because I know a lot of people who love cooking, and they can be very, people at Christmas or birthdays with the best intentions, oh, this person loves to cook, I'll buy them a set of knives. And I'm like, that's not what you don't want to do that, because they will have, if they are a foodie, they will have their brand of knives and their brand of pans, and they will not like it if you give them something else. They'll be nice to your face and they'll never use it, or they'll just give it away to someone else. So do you have that look on your face? I'm wondering whether you've done that. I won't get you to disclose that, but do you have a favorite brand of pans or favorite brand of knives?
I don't think I do, to be honest with you. It's how it feels when you're cooking. It's
Yeah.
how easy it is to clean after, because you've always got to
Yeah.
remember to clean up. But I don't think I have a specific brand that I sort of sway to. It's just what I like the look of. Most women buy shoes and bags, and I buy pans.
That's okay. That's better than saying I buy knives, because that might be taken in a wrong way. But how did you go from the rice and the blowing up of microwaves to actually being able to cook? So what were the first things that you learned to cook, and then how did it progress? Was it cookbooks? Was it watching it on YouTube, TV?
Yeah, it was neither of those, to be honest with you. I started experimenting and buying sort of the most random foods that I could find that I've never heard of, and just sort of giving it a go. And then I think as my love for food, or cooking food at least, I've always had a love for food, but as my cooking love grew, I think then I started to research a bit more, find out a little bit more about what's
Right.
actually in a dish, and then yeah, went from there. So my partner's African, so recently I've been doing a lot of African dishes. I
Hmm.
love flavors, adding new flavors to food. So I've started to master things now, I believe.
Nice. So, if I was to come over to your place and you're having a dinner party, what are your favorite things to cook?
Okay, so you'll have a full spread of buffet. I'm a buffet type person, but I
Right.
like to have a lot of food. If your belly's not full by the time you leave, then I've had an off day.
Okay.
I'm a feeder. I'm a feeder. Yeah, you'll have a twice as big belly by the time you leave, but I'm cooking all sorts. From So I'll include starters and mains in one, and then dessert will be
Okay.
later. I'm not a great baker, I will be honest. I can cook,
Okay.
but I can't really bake unless it's a banoffee pie where I can just put it in the fridge. But I hate waiting. So if I'm not making it on the go, I have to get it done quick. Time is of the essence. So yeah, I'll do a platter of some form. There'll be a nice salad in there because you have to have a salad in
Yeah.
there. There will be a bit of spice because you have to have some spice. If you can't hack spice, then probably don't come. Um, but yeah, there will be lots of flavour. That's all I can guarantee.
Nice. Are there any because from the way you said you started, it was sort of a very organic journey. You just picked up random foods and started experimenting. Are there any foods that are on your list to experiment with that you haven't gotten your hands on fully yet?
Not yet. No, I just started using bulgur wheat, which
Okay. Yep.
which is used quite often, but
Mm.
I've never cooked with it before. So I started adding sort of different sauces and spices with bulgur wheat. So that's sort of the one that I was after for a little while, and then I thought, let me try it now. But there's nothing yet that I think I haven't
Okay.
experimented with. But again, I'm always open to learning new cultures, new foods. So I think yeah, I'm definitely going to have to make a list now. You've given me some inspo.
Well, let me ask you another random question that I've never asked. What is your favorite spice? Or what do you think is the most underrated spice? Obviously, we have salt, pepper, we got chili. But any sort of underrated or overlooked spice that you love using that most people might not even know the name of?
Oh,
Like you talk African cooking, I'm immediately thinking like things like saffron and things like that that a lot of people just have no idea of.
yes, definitely. What do I use a lot of? I'm just trying to think. When I make a lot of African food, it's things like Maggi, seasoning. I love a herb, so I love coriander. Coriander for me
Mhm.
is my favorite. I think it adds so much flavor to dishes. I put it in probably dishes that shouldn't have it in, to be honest with you. Um, but I don't know if there's one that is under. I rate them all, so I don't know.
Coriander is probably quite up there as it is because I know quite a few people from the UK who have very, very plain tastes. All they ever want to eat is the same chicken, and they won't touch seafood, chicken and steak and things like that. And so for them,
Perfect.
coriander would already be like, what's that? It's a twig in my dish. So aside from, I mean, that's fascinating, the food and the food critic aspect. Just in terms of your day job, is your day job anywhere near as interesting?
So my day job, so I'm an operations manager for kitchen and bathroom designs. So it can range from the heavy lifting using pump trucks, sort of lifting massive boxes that are way bigger than I can lift, loading lorries, and then to another side where I'm designing a nice brand new kitchen for a customer. So yeah, it's a little bit different.
Wow. But it's still related to food, I'm noticing.
Always. I'll always
Have
try
you
somehow.
have you planned out your dream kitchen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just waiting to get the house.
You're one of those people who's going to get the house built around the kitchen, aren't you?
A
You
hundred.
you you would design the kitchen first, and then the rest of the house to whatever. But the kit. So can you just describe this kitchen that you have in your mind? Like the
Yes.
burners, are we chrome? Are we marble? Like what's it going to look like?
Yes, absolutely. So you'll walk in. First thing you'll see is a great big island because that's how you
Yep,
host well. You have to have an island. There has to be some nice fancy bar stools. I'm going to have, so on the wall, I'm going to have it sort of integrated with a hole, all my spices, so they're easy access because you need to
yep,
just be able to reach, but they've got to be in a fancy bottle so it goes with the aesthetics.
of course,
I'm going to have, I've already picked the oven.
of course.
Really bad, yeah. So it's a great big old school oven. It's nothing new. I want raw
Okay,
thing. I'm not sure about the worktop yet. I've not got to that stage. I want a huge fridge because at the minute my fridge and freezer's way too small for the amount of food
yeah.
I get. This is so bad. I need drawers with drawers in them, absolutely, because I've got a lot of equipment. And yeah, I think that's as far as I'll go before I get carried away.
This is sounding like a very cheap endeavor here, Georgie. That
Yeah,
it'll be whacked together in a week or so and just cost you a couple of £100. The old school oven. That's a surprise. I would have thought you were going for like a minimalist, chic, newer model, but we're going for the old, the classic
yeah,
aesthetic.
classic. Absolutely. I like that. Classic mold.
Okay, all right. So good luck finding the house to put your kitchen in.
I know it's going to take a while, but it's all right. If I have to knock down a wall or two, I will.
Your house won't have any walls left. It'll just be a giant kitchen with some beds somewhere.
God, that'd be the dream.
Oh God, your partner might have some issues with. I mean, is your partner into cooking as well, or is he just like a burger pizza type of guy? Because it can be a clash when one partner is really a foodie and the other one's just like eating Pizza Hut all the time.
So he loves food as well. He
Nice,
can cook. So occasionally he'll do like a sneaky cook whilst I'm at work, so the food's ready when I get home.
because
And
you won't
most
let
people
him
are like,
cook.
"Oh, that's so romantic." Inside, I'm like, "Oh, I wanted to cook." But anyway, I'm grateful. So I'll get home and he'll have cooked. That's fine. But he will also, he's my food critic. So he will tell me, he'll be honest
Oh,
with me. So the other day, I
okay.
made some chicken wings and I did rush them. I didn't put any
Hmm.
time and love into it. And he told me, I was very
Right.
angry. He told me. And I appreciate that because I need that as well. I need to humble myself and remember when I'm doing the critique that actually this happens and I need to learn from it too. So yeah, he tells
Okay.
me definitely, but he knows to stay out the kitchen.
Well, if you ever need anyone to critique your food, I'm available. I mean, I'm far way away, but if you ever need someone I mean, it's brave of him to critique your food, given what you've just told me about your martial arts history. But I guess I'll leave that up to him. But on more serious note, I know that you support soup kitchens
Yeah,
in Southeast London. Now, obviously, we talked about your love of food, and then there's a lot of people in the world, especially at the moment, unfortunately, with the economic climate, where just getting any food in their belly, it's far from a certainty on a daily basis. So, tell us more about your work with soup kitchens.
yes. So I work with a soup kitchen called, I don't know why, but they don't call them soup kitchens over here. So they call them food kitchens.
Right.
Not really sure why. But yeah, I work with Food Cycle, who are brilliant. I've worked with them years ago when I couldn't cook. So
Mm.
God forbid, whatever I was cooking for them then, I do apologise if you ate any of that food. But yeah, so we run 5 kitchens. We've got about 10 in total. We run 5 kitchens all over London. Predominantly, I'm in the Hackney, which
Mhm.
is sort of northwest London. I'm not very good with the London locations, even after living here for a year. Still no idea. So yeah, so we run those kitchens. We serve 3 meals a day, so starter, main, and dessert, and it's open to anyone. So if you're wanting food, you're hungry, just pop along. We
Right.
get a lot of homeless in there, women and children. It was so humbling and such an eye opener. But because I have such a passion for food, it just went hand
Mm.
in hand. And it's such an amazing experience. It's so lovely to meet new people, and they're so grateful for
Yeah.
food that they receive. They bring in Tupperware boxes, and then we fill the tubs with food that they can
Wow.
take away, shopping
Yeah.
bags with shopping for the week. So they're sorted for the weeks. But yeah, it's such an amazing experience, and I encourage anyone and everyone to do it because yeah, it's so rewarding as well.
Just out of interest, how is the operation funded? Is it funded through donations? Is it a non-for-profit?
Yeah, so it's donation based,
Right.
but we're in a very very good location that actually there's a lot of people that are also donating the food, so that doesn't
Wow, okay.
get covered as well. So yeah, it's brilliant. I've just done a contract with Tesco's where they're gonna send Tesco's is our supermarket. We've been to a
Yep.
Tesco. That was Tesco's.
Yep.
So yeah, Tesco's do a donation, and weekly we get to go pick up some shopping from them, which is amazing. And they're even looking at funding some as well. So we're working on a lot of projects. I do have a photographer, videographer called Jordan who's been sort of following the journey, and I'll be posting some videos soon about that. But I've just really been trying to promote it because it is brilliant, and I don't think it gets enough light, especially in the UK. There isn't sort of a lot of talk around it, but actually they're there, and I think it needs to be promoted more, to be honest.
I'd agree with you on that. I mean, just in the pageantry world in general, I mean, there are so many advocacies you can take, and I'm not going to say one is more worthy than the other, but
Yeah,
I think sometimes it's the not sexy ones. Like you talk about something like a cancer, or even for example, strokes. It's very in your face. It's very out there. But then homelessness is one that I don't think is talked about enough, or the current, the economic climate. Can I just ask? I can't imagine what it's like to feed someone like that. It must feel good for you. But just in general, how many people would you have coming in when you go and cook? How many people are actually coming in?
yeah. So there's around 30 to 40 a
Wow.
session. Yeah,
Right.
I was shocked when I turned up. I thought it
Yeah.
was you.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's quite a lot, and it's really nice because you build up relationships with these people because you get the same
Mm.
faces coming back each week. So yeah, I remember their names. We have conversations, and it's really lovely. I wish I could do more, um,
Mm.
but it's so lovely. That's the only way I can describe it because it gives you a warm feeling inside because you know you've helped. And
Yeah.
although for me it's something small, I'm going along and I'm cooking. That's what I do daily.
Mm.
But actually, to them it's massive, and it's a social gathering for them. They talk to the people they're around. They build relationships with the other people that are there. It's such a good experience.
Is there a general sort of demographic that you find is coming in? Because you mentioned women and children, which
Yeah.
to me, my heart goes out particularly to them, because obviously, if you have a young child and you can't afford to keep their bellies full, that has to feel, absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
But sort of on a general level, do you have a general demographic coming in, or is it people from all ages, all genders, all walks of life?
It really is. It's such a
Yeah.
mix. So you have the elderly there that are
Mm.
just they're too frail at that time to cook for themselves.
Wow.
Um, to sort of 3-year olds that their parents can't necessarily afford to cook for them. or to provide the food. So yeah, it's really strange because in the UK you don't really hear about it at all.
Yeah.
I grew up in the countryside, so I don't think I saw one homeless person in the countryside. Whereas now I'm living in a city, it was a massive eye opener. And yeah, my heart breaks every time I'm there. But you leave feeling so warm because you've done that good thing for the community. It's
Yeah, I think with the cost of living just going up, I think homelessness is becoming a bigger and bigger issue, in particular, like places like London or Sydney over here. I know places in Los Angeles over in the States have a massive homeless problem, but we don't talk about it that often. It seems like some sort of taboo or embarrassment. But I mean, all the advocacies aside, you know, if you could start on your own doorstep, so to speak. I mean, you know, hunger is terrible wherever it is, but sometimes the people that need help are right on your doorstep, so to speak. But good on you for doing that. I think that's amazing work, and obviously makes a very, very real difference. You know, advocacy and awareness is one thing, but actually putting food in someone's belly. Now that you know how to cook and you're not blowing up my microwaves anymore, I'll send you a microwave as a present in case you ever blow one up. But given everything we've talked about, obviously a lot of different aspects going back to the dancing, the stroke, the martial arts, now the cooking, and then your work with soup kitchens. What made you decide to finally come back to pageants?
I love pageantry. I always have done. I think because my health took a bit of a downfall, that's why I stopped. However, I thought I am 28, as I've mentioned. It is the final time to compete. But for me, I still feel like pageants, especially in the UK, they don't get enough light. Amazing work that the women do. It's still looked as just the beauty aspect, which is obviously always going to be there as pageants. It is still the glitz and glam, but it's that volunteer aspect. It's the fact that women are putting themselves forward for an advocacy. It's so much more than what you see on the TV, and I really want to promote that within the UK. It ties well in with what I do in terms of food, because I want to showcase that some more, and what a platform to do it on. So first time back in 8 years. It's been amazing though, and I couldn't recommend the Miss Universe Great Britain platform as much as I could, because it's been the first pageant that I've actually done where we've had loads of meetups before, we had Zoom calls, there's been so much depth to it, whereas I've competed in pageants prior to that and it's just been, right, you're at the final, there you go. So it's been a really, really big roller coaster of a journey. We've had some amazing events go on. I actually got to incorporate what I do with one of the events. So we had a photo shoot meetup with Danny Latimer, who I know you're friends with. So yeah, we had a pageant meetup with her and a photo shoot. And then after, I actually organised a meal for the girls, a complimentary meal at one of the restaurants in Birmingham. And we had 32 of us, I think. And the restaurant on this massive meal for us. So yeah, it's been really lovely for Paula, the director, to actually have me showcase what I do, and was really nice to show the other girls as well and bring them along. But yeah, no, lots going on. Not enough hours in the day. I keep saying it's crazy. The schedules are getting tighter and tighter. But yeah, I'm so happy to be back and watch the journey.
Well, I mean, Danny is the official photographer. Obviously, Paula is a director, and from all accounts, I've not spoken to her personally, but she really does do a bang up job. I'm not just saying that. From Miss Universe GB, also Miss Wales, which she has nothing but glowing reports, which doesn't happen very often in the industry. But whatever happens aside this year, maybe official caterer for Miss Universe GB.
I would love to.
I mean, look,
I'm excited.
Pageant girls love food, and I'm just thinking maybe an official caterer. I mean, why not?
This is great. I'm definitely going to look into this. The business.
Can you imagine? Because food in general at pageants is terrible. Like sometimes the directors don't let the girls eat. There's not enough time. Can you imagine if there was an actual bespoke, someone who'd been in the pageant industry, so it's not feeding the girls all the sugar, something really nice and tasty and wholesome. Like
You've got
I'm
me
getting
thinking.
hungry talking about this.
Yeah, you've got me thinking. I might make some packed lunches for the girls at the finals. Start off now.
Well, if you feed a pageant girl, they're always going to be your fan. I'm just going to put that out there. Like if you feed them all, they're all going to love you. So absolutely go for it. Um, Let me just ask you one final question before we move to the final 10. So Miss Universe in particular in the international level has been changing the eligibility criteria recently under the new directorship. I don't think the age has changed, but obviously, for example, they're allowing married women to compete now. And you've spoken multiple times about being 28. I just want to get your general opinion on that age limit in particular, because at the age of 28, I understand that there needs to be an age limit. I do. But 28 has always struck me as a bit of an odd one, only because I'm not sure there's a huge difference between a 29-year-old and a 28-year-old. 30, I would more understand because it's like, oh, your age is beginning with a different number. But can you just speak a little bit to that? Because, you seem to be living life, loving life, crushing it, doing all sorts of weird and wonderful things from, serving at soup kitchens to blowing up microwaves. I can't imagine that at the age of 29, suddenly you're going to stop doing all that.
No, I think it's a funny one. I found myself later on in life, and I think
Yeah.
as a woman, a lot of us do. We go through
Yeah.
trials and tribulations when you're younger. You go through the crazy teenager years. You hit
Yeah.
your 20s, and then it's like, right, okay, what do you want to do for education? What's going next? What's your
Yeah.
career goals? And then, yeah, as I've mentioned, it was obviously lockdown that I found my passion, and that wasn't that long ago. So I think the age definitely needs to be lifted.
Mm.
What to, I'm not sure, but as you said,
Neither do I. But I'm
it's
just like 28 is a bit of an odd one to cut it off at. This is what I'm
yeah,
saying.
definitely. But I still feel like I'm growing.
Yeah.
I'm at a stage where I think I'm at a junction, and I've hit that point where I'm like, right, I'm ready now. I can conquer anything. When I was younger, I obviously wanted that mentality, and I thought that was the case, but I've grown so much as a woman now that I
Mm.
think I've still got so much growth to go. I'm not in my prime yet. I'm ready to take the prime, and it is a funny one. I'm not really sure why 28.
I think it's just maybe because it's more than what it was before.
I
Um,
know, but
uh,
amazing that Miss Universe is open to mothers
yeah.
and married women. I'm a stepmummy, so I'm here for it.
If you were fortunate enough to take out the crown in 2 months, I believe, um, what are your initial, immediate, and maybe long-term plans with that? What are you going to do with that piece of hardware?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm definitely opening more soup kitchens. I would love to get Miss Universe Great Britain on television. That is my goal, because I
Yeah.
think, why is it not? We watch the Eurovision.
Mhm.
Let's put pageants on there. So that's definitely a goal. Yeah, setting up more soup kitchens. I would love to just keep promoting. I think that's the biggest thing we can do, especially with this generation. It's
Mm.
all about social media. It's all about finding new platforms. So I think to incorporate the two
Yeah.
is the goal. And then obviously the prep for Miss Universe official stage. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's lots going on, but I still feel like sticking by my advocacy, soup kitchen, supporting the women and children that are out there that are struggling, and bringing
Yeah.
more light to it is what I would venture into. Absolutely.
Perfect.
Oh, and a
Uh,
skydive. I've got a skydive. I'm so scared of heights, and I've planned a skydive. I don't know why I thought it was a good idea, but I'm doing one, and I'm so terrified.
Skydives are easy. I mean, you just sit there and then you get kicked out the plane. There's nothing to prepare. There's nothing to do. You
Do you know? Can you eat before though? Because I had a friend that threw up on himself. That's what I'm scared of.
Eat as much as you want, and then you can spiral vomit as you go out the plane. I will give you, as someone who has skydived on more than one occasion, I will give you this one piece of advice. You're going up, so I imagine you're tandem skydiving, right? You're not going to jump. Okay. They will move you to the door, and they will probably tell you you're going on the count of 3. They never go on 3.
How dare
If
they?
they give you a 1, 2, 3, they'll probably go like on 1 or 2. And the reason for it is because if you get to 3, people grab the sides of the doors and they can't kick them out. So when they say they're going on 3, you're going. You're just going. You will never get to 3. You're
So
just.
I need to hold on at 2 is what you're telling me.
Well, what I'm saying is just don't hold on, but just so you know, because
I'm still attached to the plane.
well, I had Emma Collingridge over here, Miss Universe GB, before she competed at Universe, and we went on a skydive. So yeah, kicking pageant queens out of a plane it's good fun.
Okay, good to know.
But I think you'll love it. It's not scary to me in the same way that like bungee jumping, for example. Not that I dislike bungee jumping, but just like going down, because I've had laser eye surgery. So
Right.
then being dangled upside down and getting to the end and then having that velocity, that acceleration, and then sometimes you can get detached retinas.
No.
Not that that's scary, but it just
And
sounds like that's
imagine the wedgie.
unpleasant.
You'd get a
Yeah,
wedgie as well, right?
that's what I mean. I just like that's it's just so uncivilized. You know what I mean? Skydiving is fine, but
Yeah,
bungee jumping is not for me.
good
But
to know.
when are you jumping out of a perfectly good plane?
Don't, I'm so scared. So I've got it booked at the moment for July next year.
Okay.
Whether it'll stick to that date, I'm not sure. No, it's gonna be. It's gonna be.
I will fly over there to kick you out the plane if I have to. But July,
You're
the
gonna
problem with July next year, you mean 2024?
Yeah.
You're giving yourself too long to think of it and back out
Oh,
of it. You've given yourself too long to come up with an excuse not to.
no, I'm
That's the
gonna do
thing.
it. When I say things, I'll stick to it. That's why I regret saying it. No, I
Well,
will
you
stick to
said
it.
you've said it on a live interview now as
I'm
well, so you
not.
can't you can't very well back out of it. But
It'll be fine.
have fun. Have
Thanks.
fun jumping out of a perfectly good plane. Just before we get to the final 10, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to for supporting you on your journey?
Absolutely. So my sponsor, Modu Aesthetics, they do absolutely amazing facials. So thank you so much for sponsoring me and all the family and friends that have supported at this moment. You're the best.
Or the friends that you cook for?
Yeah,
Sounds like they might owe you some thanks, but
they're all
I
panicking
got that.
now because they think they're going to have to cook for me.
Well, they should, and then you get to exercise your critic muscles. But let's get through these final 10. So 10 random questions. Number 1, what is your favorite word?
Do it. That's not one word, but yeah, just do it.
It's okay.
Get
You
up
got
there.
it. Number 2, what is your least favorite word?
Don't do it. Don't.
Walk
No.
straight into that one, didn't I?
My least favorite is no. I don't take no very well. I think you have to just keep going.
You won't believe how many times I've been told that as the answer to that one. It's just, and
Really?
every time the girl who says it, they literally have like a physical, visceral reaction to even saying the word no. They can just really tell they hate being told no. It's like
Yeah,
no. Anyway, number 3, in life, what gets you excited or what turns you on?
food. Every flavour, every taste. Food.
What about what turns you off?
Being hungry. Like, if I'm ever hangry, I think I invented the word hangry because it's real.
Okay, so I'm imagining going on a fast is not it's not going to be to your liking.
Do you know what? I did it during Ramadan. I'm not Muslim, but a lot of my colleagues are, and I thought, right, let me show some respect to them. Let me do it.
Hmm.
That was tough. That was tough, but I did it.
Is that 24 hours?
So you so you wake up before sunrise
Yeah.
and you can eat then, and
Yeah.
then you won't eat till, depending on when sun sets, around 8 o'clock at night. But you can't have water, food. That
Uh,
was challenging.
yeah. The water aspect would be tough. I've done like 3-day, 4-day fasts, but being able to drink water, then not being able to drink water would be a challenge. Number 5, what sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise? Birds in the morning. Has to be. I think I miss that a little bit with the countryside, because in the countryside you hear it very loud all the time. In London, not as often, but we actually have, fun fact, so we have parrots, parakeets. They're
Oh,
bright
really?
green and they're
Yeah.
just around the area. And I never knew that about London. So yeah, fun fact.
I'd never seen that sort of bird in London. I've seen lots of squirrels, and I was immediately told not to touch the squirrels because apparently they're quite aggressive,
Yeah.
which I thought was so funny. Like the idea of being mugged to death by a bunch of squirrels is quite amusing. Um, but no, I didn't realize those sorts of birds were in London. That's good to know. Number 6, what sound or noise do you hate?
What noise do I hate? Snoring. I can't deal with snoring. If my partner watches this later on, he's gonna kill me. But his snoring, I think that's why I'm an early riser. I have to be. The minute I'm awake, it's like can't do it. Don't even give me an example. Terrible.
I, I was going to say you don't have to incriminate anyone, and then you just went there straight
I
ahead
did
and
it.
did it for me.
And the
Anyway,
question is
number
what I do.
Number 7, if you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
If I could have one superpower, it'd be to feed everyone. I wish I could do it on a large scale and just give everyone food, some nice cooking. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not really a a normal superpower, but yeah, absolutely to
Mm.
feed people. I think it'd be amazing.
Yeah. Number 8, what job other than your own would you most like to attempt?
Ooh, what job? I mean, I should probably say chef. Um, why? I mean, I'm saying I'm starting late, but actually, I can start at any age, really. So yeah, a chef, definitely a chef. If I could go back, I would probably have delved a little bit deeper into that at school and
Yeah.
college. I did a lot of business studies and law and finance. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely a chef.
Well, it's never too late to start. And a lot of the best chefs in the world are self-taught. Like Heston
Absolutely.
Blumenthal, for example, never did culinary school, and he's done pretty
Mm,
well.
yeah,
So
definitely.
it's definitely a possibility. Number 9, what job would you definitely not like to attempt?
What job would I not like to attempt? Probably something financy. I no, yeah, no, finance. Anything to do with numbers, my brain shuts down, literally shuts down. It goes,
How,
no. Yeah.
how do you feel about spreadsheets and Excel?
I'm really good with a spreadsheet. I don't know why, but I'm terrible. But I think that's because it does it for you.
I've never seen someone perk up so much at the mention of spreadsheets.
Yeah, so I was a logistics manager for about 6 years,
Right.
and I had to use spreadsheets all the time. When I first looked at them, it was anxiety, but then
Yeah.
someone showed me the light and said, "Look, you don't even have to use a calculator, just use Excel." And now if you need a spreadsheet doing, I'm your girl.
I don't understand that because I just figure everyone's going to find spreadsheets incredibly boring. But like
Yeah,
every time I ask someone about Excel, they get really excited. And I'm like, that is not the answer I expected because I don't find Excel enjoyable at all. And I work in tech. Anyway, final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
well done. I'm proud of what you achieved. And then maybe a short montage of life, because obviously during that stroke period, there's a lot of my memory that I don't have and I don't remember. So it'd be quite nice to have a little reel, an Instagram reel of of all my time on Earth.
I'm hoping that heaven isn't an Instagram reel.
No,
But,
yeah, let's hope not. What about
we can.
you? What would you like to hear at the pearly gates?
Well, honestly, I just hope that there is a heaven and you get to see all the people. And I mean, people talk about pets as well because we grow close to our pets, so it's not so much about. I mean, I'd like to hear something like "welcome" or "well done." You did what you were put there to do. But more than that, I'd like to see the people that the people who have passed on, or the pets who have passed on. Although that'd be crazy because in my case, it'd be a lot of cats, a lot of cats.
I love
So.
that.
Yeah. Anyway, look, it's been a blast talking to you,
And
mainly
you.
about the food. Never talked so much in depth about food, but thanks so much for your time and for coming on.
And thank you for having me. It's been great.
Absolutely. And I'll keep you on the line for just a minute whilst I hang out with the audience. But thanks everyone for watching, and we will speak to you next time. Bye for now. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Sorority Access is now open. So if you'd like to join an amazing group of women and learn how to be the most powerful, confident, and impactful queen possible, head to thepagentsorority.com. I'll see you there and see you in the next video.